In this video, we'll go through the cleaning and sterilization process of the Rultract Ratchet Rake assembly. This assembly needs to be disassembled into 5 pieces for the cleaning cycle and then reassembled again for sterilization and use. Step 1 is to remove your rake plate from the snap clip. Set the rake plate aside very carefully because these rake tips are very sharp. Some of the older Rultract rake plates have the cable attached to a hub which is attached to the rake plate like this. If you have an older system like this, you will not remove the rake plate from the hub. Pull the cable from the spool. You do not want to use the crank handle to unwind the cable from the spool because the cable can get kinked inside the spool cap. Make sure to hold your ratchet assembly by the spool like this. Pull the cable. If the cable does not come out, flip your ratchet reverse lever to the opposite side and then pull the cable from the spool. A fully exposed cable is 16 inches in length. Next, remove the spool cap assembly and crank handle assembly from the gearbox. Reverse your grip and hold the ratchet assembly by the handle side. Turn the spool cap nut counterclockwise all the way until it comes off. No tools are required. Remove the spool cap assembly from your crank handle. To do that, grab the spool and slide it right off. Remove the crank handle from the gearbox. Note that you remove the crank handle from the square hole in the gearbox and not the round one. When you reassemble it, make sure that you are putting it back into the square hole. Next, separate the spool from the spool cap. To do that, align the cable access plate screw with the pin and the groove. When you line up the pin, the screw, and the groove, they'll just slide right apart. No further disassembly is required of these pieces for cleaning and sterilization. Be sure that the lock knob is not closed all the way or opened all the way. Keep it somewhere right in the middle so that it has some play in it. The disassembled Rultract Ratchet Rake assembly is in 5 pieces and ready for the cleaning cycle. Now you are ready to reassemble those 5 pieces for sterilization and use. Following the completion of the cleaning cycle, check for tightness of all fasteners and screws. All Rultract trays should have large and small Allen wrenches in them at all times. Use your large Allen wrench and check for tightness of your 4 cable access plate screws. Also use the large Allen wrench to check the screws of your crank handle assembly. Use your small Allen wrench and check your cable set screw. This doesn't need to be over-tightened. Just make sure that it's tight and very secure. Use a flathead screwdriver and check your cable access plate screw. Run your finger over to make sure that it sits flush. Insert the crank handle into the gearbox. Be sure to insert it into the square hole right above the ratchet reversing lever, making sure that it sits flush. There is also a square hole at the top, but that's not the correct hole to put this in. Reassemble the spool cap assembly. Note that there is a flat surface on the spool and the cable needs to hang right over the flat surface of the spool. Align the flat surface of the spool with the groove cable guide and the pieces will just slide easily together. Reattach the spool cap assembly onto your crank handle and gearbox. Notice the pin in the spool cap and a groove in the gearbox. This pin has to be inserted into that groove. Manipulate your spool cap assembly onto the crank handle and be sure that the pin sits in the groove. While holding your ratchet assembly by the handle side, take your spool cap nut and turn it clockwise to tighten it as tight as you can. Make sure that your lock knob is not closed all the way or opened all the way. Keep it somewhere right in the middle so it has some play in it. You are now ready to wind the cable into the spool. If you have a rake plate, attach it to your snap clip. The cable will wind uniformly into the spool when there's weight hanging off the end of it. Stand up to hold the ratchet assembly up in the air high enough so that the rake plate is suspended above the desktop. Wind the cable into the spool. Leave about 2.5 to 3 inches of cable exposed. Your Rultract Ratchet Rake assembly has been completely reassembled and ready for sterilization and use. Thank you for watching.